Hi everyone, welcome back. This is part 4 of the Fall Mini Album series, and I'm working on the next page. It's going to have this book paper on it, as well as some pattern paper. And it's going to be primarily book paper, with just 2 little strips of pattern paper on the very edges, and then the torn book paper running down the middle. So I'm just laying down the pattern paper. And now you see I've dipped my Colorbox Fluid Chalk Ink Cat's IQ into a large Colorbox ink pad. The reason I did that is I had been using this Cat's IQ throughout the book and it started to lose some of its ink. And I needed to just get a little bit more ink on it so that the amount of ink that it put on the edges of papers would stay consistent. I didn't want to refill it or switch to a different type of ink. So that's one thing you can do if you have a larger pad. And a smaller pad. Alright, now I decided I wanted to do a pocket page with a large tag, so I cut out this piece of pattern paper by Scenic Route, and that's what is going to be used to make the pocket. And now I'm just punching the holes. And hole placement on this particular page is extremely important, so I'm going to trace where the holes need to be punched, and then I'm going to punch them out with the same hole punch I've been using throughout. And what I'm going to do is I am going to cut little pieces of this tape and totally surround the hole. And what this will do is it'll strengthen the holes so I won't have to worry about them tearing. This is a cardstock weight paper. That just doesn't have the strength of chipboard. And that's going to add to its strength. And then I'm going to just put tape around the rest of the edges, leaving space at one side for the tag to go in. So that's how it will look on the page. You'll still see some text paper here and there, but mostly it's going to be covered with these leaves. I've adhered it down, and now you remember that tag I made earlier that I didn't like on the page I made it for. I'm going to just use it right here to put a photo mat on the pocket. And then I'll be using that same stamp set with the doodled tags to make the tag to go actually inside the pocket. I'm going to be stamping this on craft cardstock in Colorbox Fluid Chalk Ink in Chestnut Roan. I cut it out with my scissors. And then I'm going to actually just go ahead and flip it over and stamp the exact same stamp on the back. The stamps are not mirror images of each other, but they're close enough that even with the doodled edge it looked okay. And so now I'm going to punch a hole and add some ribbon. And I'm going to use a nice wide twill tape, the green stripe. And because of the width of the ribbon and the fact that it's a twill and therefore it's a little bit thicker, I'm actually going to gather the ribbon with a little piece of string and tie a bow on this tag as well, so that I don't create another bulky knot for the album. So first I'm tying it in a double knot or a square knot, and then I am going to try and tie a bow. And it took me forever to tie the bow, so I'm just going to cut it off here. And there you see the bow's finally been tied. Now I'm just trimming the ribbon with my ribbon scissors. And I'm going to take some Ranger Glossy Accents and put a dot of it on the knot on the ribbon. And that is to keep the ribbon from coming untied or anything like that. So that's what it looks like. That's that page. I'm going to move on to the next page. I had covered this page with something else earlier and I really didn't like it, so I pushed it back to be used later. And so now here this pattern paper is again showing up, and I'm going to be covering it with some more of this book paper. And this book paper is literally pages torn from a book. Specifically the Quest for the Holy Grail, the medieval French epic poem from my medieval literature class, which was my least favorite literature class in college, and the Quest for the Holy Grail was my least favorite book from that class. So, and after it's done getting torn to shreds, I think the Song of Roland may be next. But I've now covered this chipboard with the exact same technique and same paint colors and everything that I used to cover that other piece of chipboard earlier in the album. Just crackle paint then regular paint, then glimmer mist, then glossy accents. And so now I am just putting dimensional adhesive on the back because I'm going to use this piece of chipboard to hold some tags. And I'm painting glimmer mist onto the back of it so that the part that shows is not going to be ugly. And the reason I'm painting the glimmer mist is just simply because my glimmer mist was clogged. So I'm just using a brush to put it on instead of the spray because the spray was clogged. Now I'm going to make 2 tags. The tags are going to be identical, so I'm only going to show you one. I just randomly am cutting an angled piece. It doesn't matter, however you want to cut it. And then I'm going to take the piece that I cut and put it on the other side, and that way I have identical angles. Then I covered the back with Scenic Group grid paper and trimmed those edges as well. Or I'm going to do that rather this time. So I'm just going to make sure there's adhesive on all the edges, and then I'm going to put it on the grid paper and trim the edges. And then I'm actually also going to be adding a smaller piece of that pattern paper on the other side so that it has continuity in between the two, and there's some pattern paper on both sides of the tags. So I'm just going to lay that down, and then again I'm going to trim the edges. And I'm going to punch a hole, and I am going to use a ribbon on these tags. I'm going to use green chenille ribbon. And I'm also going to be inking the edges in the color box fluid chalk ink in chestnut brown. And I'm going to ink all the edges on both sides of the tag. And one side of the tag is totally blank. It would be great for small photos or even to cover the majority of the tag with a larger photo. So I'm going to thread this chenille ribbon through, and I'm just going to make a loop and tie it off like that. Just trimming the edges. And again, like I said, I'm going to make 2 identical tags, so I'm just testing to make sure that it fits. And now I have both tags back to back, and I put them in where they belong, and then you're going to see me flip it over so you see what sticks out on the other side and adds a pop of color and a nice layer. So now I'm just going to finish the facing page, just covering it with the same pattern paper, punch the holes, ink the edges. I'm going to add some more of that book paper. I'm also going to ink the edges of this in the same ink, color box fluid chalk ink in chestnut brown. And I'm going to glue that down and trim around the edges. And then after that, I'll just be adding a fabric tag with a fall that says fall. And I think that is from Me and My Big Ideas. Is the company. And you'll see it here in just a second. It's the red tag. And that finishes up that page. Stay tuned for the last part in this series. Thank you.